Do I look okay? We don't know, but we shall continue anyways. So this is technically like an August book haul, but like a September to be read, because I bought all these books in August, but there's only a week left in August, and as of right now, I'm really busy wrapping up work and like prepping for classes and for the new school year, and I'm just waiting like a week or two until I'm like well established in school to finally begin reading. So the first book I'm going to be talking about is Cinderellas Dead. This is actually the first book I picked up this month. I was literally walking into my local bookstore with my friend, and I saw this and I was like, Cinderellas Dead, that sounds really interesting. So I've actually been seeing this book popping out a lot recently. I think it's because it actually just came out this month. Essentially, it's a fresh like retake of Cinderella. Not the actual original Cinderella fairy tale, because this is technically assuming that the Cinderella story was real, and so it's now taking place 200 years into the future, if that makes sense. So they're actually living in Cinderella's world, but it's now 200 years into the future, and all these teen girls are now required to attend these balls, and I think it's like annual balls, and like find suitors and men to marry by like displaying their finery and jewelry and all that stuff. And the girls who don't like grab or catch the attention of a man, no one knows what happens to them. That's kind of horrifying. So I'm excited to read this. It sounds to me it's gonna be like mystery horror. She encounters Constance, the last known descendant of Cinderella, and her stepsisters. So that's gonna be interesting. I have a feeling she's gonna fall in love with Constance. Like, we know that she's already like kind of in love with her childhood best friend Erin, but maybe there's a love triangle, I don't know. Thunderhead. If you watched my June and July book reviews or book wrap-up, then you'll know that I was a really big fan of Scythe, which is the first book of the Arc of a Scythe book series, and this is book 2. What I've noticed so far, I've only read the first couple of chapters, is it's going to have a greater focus on the Thunderhead, which is something we don't really learn about in Scythe. Like, in Scythe, the Thunderhead was obviously in Scythe, it just wasn't as prominent as the notes of Scythe Curdy or Scythe Godard, stuff like that. I'm really curious to see if the Thunderhead is actually as good as it was kind of portrayed in the first book, because it's technically the perfect ruler of a perfect world, but we already established in book 1 that their world is not perfect at all. If the Thunderhead is just as imperfect as their world, you know. This book takes place, I believe, a year after the first book, so not right away. The characters have now grown into kind of separate people. And then there's The Toll. I bought both of these back to back, Thunderhead and The Toll. Oh my god, okay, let me just read you the back of this book. I am your completion, I am the last word of your unsatisfied, unsavory lives. I am your deliverer. Your death is both my verdict upon you and my gift to you. Accept it with grace, and thus farewell. The way this book is written still blows my mind. I'm curious to see how the author manages to tie everything up and how it ends and how it continues. I'm moving on to Unravel the Dusk. Now, it's been, I'm pretty sure, a little over a year since I read the first book, which was Spin the Dawn. And before I actually get into the book, I just want to say this author has some of the most beautiful covers. Like, look at this. Do you see that? It's so beautiful. And then like the back, I don't have the other one with me, but you can see like Spin the Dawn. Can you even see that? No, you can't. Okay, well you get the idea. And I know you like shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but like, she's cute. I don't really remember much about the first book just because it was a whole year ago. I remember really loving it though. Essentially, Maya is a tailor. She enters this competition in book 1 to prove to the emperor that she is the greatest tailor and that she's worthy to serve as his tailor. So in order to prove herself, she has to go on this journey to find the laughter of the sun, the cheers of the moon, and the blood of the stars. She falls in love with the sorcerer along the way. He was adorable. He turned into like this hawk. It was a whole thing. By the end of book 1, she kind of strips him of his power in order to save him, and she ends up like cursing herself in order to save her loved ones. So it will be interesting to see how she fights this like darkness that now lives inside of her. Like, it's like this ticking time bomb inside of her. And to see how she reconnects with, I'm pretty sure his name was Ethan. Oh, his name was Eden. His name was Eden. I'm reading the synopsis and I'm recalling so much stuff that I forgot. I think I actually need to reread the first one before I dive into this one again, because I need to jog my memory more. I don't remember her being the Emperor's runaway bride. According to the synopsis, she's the runaway bride. I do not remember that. And since it's already fresh in my memory, I think I need to like finish the Sky series first, and then I can jump into the rest of the books, including this one. Children of Blood and Bone. This is another book that I'm very excited to read. I feel like I've said excited a lot. But anyways, I was very excited to pick up this book because I've seen it everywhere. I've seen it all over my Instagram. I've seen it, my friends have talked to me about it, but I was warned that it does touch on heavier topics. I think it touched upon like controlling families, and I don't really remember. I do remember my friends telling me this was a very heavy book in terms of like the topics were very deep. So, and I love those kinds of books, so this is gonna be great. I do expect to be very emotionally wrecked by this book. From what I've read on the synopsis and like the very few things my friends have told me, they've been hunted down for their magic, and so now they're retaliating and trying to overthrow the monarchy who has been hunting them down for their magic. The back says, "They killed my mother, they took our magic, they tried to bury us, now we rise." The second book recently came out, I believe, maybe a month or two ago. I didn't pick it up just because I already spent over like $120, which like, I don't have money, so I might go book shopping again next month or something, but for this month, as of August, I have more than enough books. It's the City of Brass series, and there are 3 books in total. I just picked up the first 2 books. I picked up City of Brass and The Kingdom of Copper. Now, every review that I've seen for these books, like, everyone ends an emotional mess, and I get very emotional. And I get very emotionally attached to my books, so when I saw every reviewer, every booktuber, like, cry over these books, I was like, I'm scared, but in a good way, because I know that I'm going to be very emotionally attached, and I'm going to probably cry a lot, and I mean, what else am I going to do? I'm stuck inside anyways, so this series is definitely a fantasy series. It's set in 18th century Cairo. The main protagonist, Nori, I'm pretty sure, she's a con woman who uses her magic to like basically steal from all the nobles that pass along her stall. This takes in influences and inspiration from Middle Eastern folklore and history, which like I love mythology, I love folklore, and history was my favorite class, so I don't recall what the 3rd book is, but as soon as I'm done reading both of these books, I'm definitely going to jump in and grab the 3rd book because I already know I'm going to like them. Renegades by Marissa Mayer. I was a huge fan of the Lunar Chronicles growing up, and by growing up I mean like 3 years ago in high school. So when I saw that she had another book series called The Renegades, I was like, yes, give it to me. I'm pretty sure it's a trilogy, so there's 2 other books besides this one. I think I've heard that this is an enemies to lovers series, which is interesting. I feel like I haven't read an enemies to lovers in a while, so I don't know if I would consider this like dystopia, like sci-fi. I think this is more sci-fi. I'm pretty sure this book is gonna shatter me completely. This book, I see it as more of a like, oh, it's gonna, like, I wonder where the story is gonna lead me to. Reading the Lunar Chronicles, I'm not saying that it was passive or anything, because it wasn't. It's just something that I sat down and I really enjoyed reading it. It obviously had its heartbreaking moments and its high stakes moments. It's just overall the series wasn't extremely dark or gritty. I kind of expect this series to be kind of similar just because that's what I'm used to in terms of her writing style. Or it could be completely gritty and horrifying and like deaths everywhere. Who knows? This one's called Skybreaker. This book in particular I ordered off of Thrift Books alongside another book which I will put here. In middle school, I remember one of my favorite books was Airborne, which is the first book. And I actually read this whole series, Airborne, Skybreaker, and Star Climber, I'm pretty sure is the last book. the first two books my brother lost, and so I haven't read these books in years, but I really want to read them again because 10-year-old me went wild with these. I loved them. Interestingly enough, I remember Skybreaker way more than I remember Airborne, the first one. I know that when I saw these on thrift books, I knew I wanted to reread the series again, which is why I bought it, but I don't actually recall a lot of it. I just remember Matt Cruz and Kate, and I remember Kate being like super like spunky, did whatever she wanted. She loved a good adventure and I loved her for it. And I remember she and Matt made such a good pair, or such a good team in the first book and the second book, and obviously the third book. They were amazing together. Matt Cruz was like this cabin boy. He loved the sea / the open sky, depending on my memory. This whole series is an adventure series, a lot of mystery, adventure, technological advances that aren't really realistic to us, but realistic to this book's world. Last two books that I got are Fragility. Of course, it isn't enough to just read a book on anti-racism. You actually have to apply it into your life, but I still think reading and educating yourself on these topics is a good step forward. If you're not into books, which at this point, like, what are you doing in my video if you're not? There are podcasts, there are shows, movies, there's so many resources out there for you to educate yourself. This is also a very, very small book, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Finally, for the book that I'm very, very excited about, and that I'm also like a million years late for, Becoming by Michelle Obama. I am so late to the game. I remember when this book came out, I don't know, what was it, like a year and a half ago? It might have been longer actually. Target has discounts on their books often, so this was, I think this was 20% off, but originally the price is $32.50. And that's expensive. This is one of the books that I've seen all my friends rave about. I actually have one of my best friends just picked it up, I think last month, and she was constantly snapping me how much she loved it. I'm ready to read about the love of my life, be inspired, and be motivated and happy. I just find it funny how I said this video wasn't going to be long and it still ended up being ridiculously long. So anyways, that is it for my book haul and my September to be read.